All right, thanks for tuning in today. This is test number 4 in our C6 at MSR Cresson on the 1.7. Today we're testing on an unusual tire setup, 200 treadwear front, 300 rear. We do have a new seat and harness that doesn't really make us fast. We've got Z51 brakes all around with R12 G-Lock front pads and the junk pads on the rear from the parts store. I'm going out. This is early in the morning on August 20th. The first session with anybody driving on the brand new track surface, so the track is pretty green. I have no audio because my stupid Roadkeeper camera decided to turn the audio off for the entire day. I ran the full 30-minute session. I was fairly slow. It was slower than I was in the previous 3 tests. Pretty frustrated on this day. We did some changes to try to fix some ABS issues, and we did fix that at the cost of a tremendous amount of rear grip. So this is a lap 10. The car is really squirrely with a 200 treadwear front and 300 treadwear rear. The ABS is no longer locking up after we crippled the brake pad and the rear grip, but the car slowed down about 2 seconds slower than we did on our very first track test on really terrible tires front and back and terrible brake pads. So I'm tiptoeing through Rattlesnake here. It's pretty frustrating. I can't use almost any throttle. As you can see the throttle trace there. I'm just skating through Big Bend here, third throttle, not even halfway. I'm usually full throttle seconds before this. I'm coming into Ricochet. I'm braking early, and I'm just trying to keep the car from sliding off the track, which I eventually do later. 0.8 G lateral. It was just garbage. But that's what we had to do to fix the ABS with this GM wonderful programming. Just tiptoeing through these corners, barely touching 0.9, 1 G, and it's done 1.25 before on the RS4's front and back, which we can't do where it locks the rear brakes. Skating through that corner and then these 3 lefts, it's kind of off camber here. You're usually starting to feed in a lot of throttle here, but the rear tires just won't take it, and it keeps stepping out. So I'm having to just tiptoe through this long series of left-handers. Watching the oil pressure, it's in the 50s. It's not bad. It's not going to hurt anything at this point. There's just not enough grip. Finally being able to get on the throttle after I totally straightened the car up, and barely touching 1.08 G there, spiking, and barely touching 1 G lateral through Big Bend. It's really pretty terrible. It was a frustrating day. I ran 15 full laps, full 30-minute session, and I was just trying to stay out of everybody's way. At this point, everyone's already kind of gone in, so I had the track to myself, and I did another 4 laps after this, and it just never got any better. The harder I pushed it, the more it wants to step the rear out, and I was just putting on a drift show. It was kind of silly, and you could see again through wagon wheel here. The bass end's just coming out with just barely touching the throttle. It was our worst test of 4. It was 2 seconds or a second and a half slower than our first initial test, and slower than test 2 and 3 by a good 4 seconds slower than test 2. So pretty disgusted with the car. This base model C6 has some ABS programming that's obviously very flawed, and it's not as bad as the Z06 and Grand Sport are much better. But we can't really upgrade to that stuff. It's a long story. So for now, we're looking for a solution to the ABS. We left the car in the trailer, and we're just going to let it sit there for a while because I'm pretty disgusted with it. Thanks for tuning in.